Okay, it's officially the most wonderful time of the year for Penn State football fans. Penn State Rutgers week. Bob Flounders, Dave Jones here on the Blue White Breakdown. Dave, I want to just start the show. I want to start the show. This will be Rutgers joined the Big Ten in 2014. So, we've seen a lot of Penn State Rutgers games. Can you, off the top of your head, just reel off 9 or 10 things you love about Rutgers offense?
I think it's the Rutgers experience or Rutgers
the Rutgers offense. Just the Rutgers offense in
How about
general.
just the Rutgers game day experience, the charm of SHI Opportunities Stadium or whatever it's called, the way that the host school has all its ducks in a row, everything always organized. It's just, I'm not going to say anything bad because
Okay, I will. Do you think though? I know why the Big Ten added Rutgers, but do you think, from a competitive standpoint, they regret having Rutgers in the conference?
No, because Jim Delaney knows, and it's true.
Okay.
It's not just about Rutgers. It's about that entire. It was about, at the time, the cable package, because they could get Cablevision, which was all up and down the Northeast coast, and there are Big Ten alums all up and down there. And I got the real reason, which had really nothing to do with Rutgers, although they brought a lot of fans. I think it was the 2018 Big Ten tournament at Madison Square Garden. It was fantastic because there are so many Big Ten grads in New York City, Metro New York, Boston, Philadelphia, who came in there for that thing. And it was a scene, man. I mean, it was cool. And there are a lot of Michigan grads around there. A lot of Ohio State grads, certainly a lot of Penn State grads. The Penn State following was fabulous. So it's more than about Rutgers. It was about getting that market. And now, of course, cable's not nearly as much important, but streaming services, you get that money out of that population, that huge population around Metro New York that is now was involved in the Big Ten network from the beginning, and now is involved in streaming services. You're just getting all of that population involved, completely involved, more than you were with just Penn State. That's what it's.
Yeah. So then I know, but I'm just talking about having to see Rutgers play, though. It's just, which just goes, it's part of the deal, right? Is that what you're saying? You're just going to have to live with it.
I got to say, the basketball program is very competitive.
Sure.
And that is the RAC is I'm never going to call it by the new name.
Okay.
Sandwich name. Sorry, because it'll always be the RAC to me back to 8-10 days. But my Midwestern friends are finding out how competitive Rutgers is right now and what a pain in the ass they are for basketball. And I got to say, this time of year in football, we've been talking about it for a couple weeks. A lot of teams we're seeing really don't look like they're completely engaged, involved.
Maryland's out. I could tell you that. Maryland's out.
Indiana's out. They didn't want to be there. Rutgers against Michigan State at Michigan State, and typically crappy weather in Lansing. They were fighting, man, to the final whistle, as it turned out. It was some Mickey Mouse tactics with Greg Schiano, but they're engaged. They're fighting, and I really believe this is not going to be the same kind of game that we've seen against Indiana and Maryland in recent weeks. I think so. There is that. I think they're very improved at scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and they're still fighting, which is more than you can say for several Big Ten teams right now. I mean, they're in better shape than Nebraska. They're better shape than Indiana. They're not the laughing stock of the league anymore. I think they're better than Northwestern, Indiana, Maryland, and Nebraska right now. So, I mean, are they representative? Yeah. I mean, for the second division, they're okay.
Yeah. But I guess, Dave, what I'm saying is at the end of the day, when it's 34-6 on Saturday, it's just going to be.
I'm not sure it's going to be.
I am sure it's going to be. I'm positive it's going to be.
All right.
100% it's going to be. I just don't see how you could connect the dots to this being the fourth quarter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if Penn State loses? I don't see it.
No, I'm not saying
I just want to see Rutgers evolve at some point. I mean, we're talking about almost a decade in the Big Ten where they could somehow string together some kind of offense that can actually complement their defense and they can actually threaten somebody that's good.
Well, they started running the ball against Michigan State. And Michigan State was coming off a pretty impressive win at Illinois,
All right.
And they ran the ball like they haven't run the ball with Kyle Monangai in that Michigan State game, and they were cracking pads, and they were fully involved in that game. I'm telling you, it's not going to be a walkover like it was with Indiana and Maryland. Am I going to predict a Rutgers win? No. But
Okay.
I think they will fight relative to those other schools. And I mean, if Penn State played Nebraska now, it would be what you're talking about. If they played Northwestern on a dry field, it would be what you're talking about. I don't think it's going to be with Rutgers.
All right. Just remember, last year Penn State had 100 guys with the flu, and they won 28-0.
Yeah, I think Rutgers is better at scrimmage on both sides of the ball than they were.
I'm trying to give you an out here, Dave. I'm trying to give you an out.
You're committed. I'm going to pick at 20. I don't know what I'm going to pick, but
okay, not yet. Not yet. Don't pick it yet.
I'm picking a 15-point difference basically on the spread, and you're picking much more than that, I guess.
I will, just based upon. I just can't. I mean, I know you could say every year's different, but it's not with Rutgers. They've scored 39 points in Big Ten play total against Penn State. 39.
Yeah, well,
that's
history.
10 points once.
That's history, and I don't know if they're going to score a lot more this time because they've got a rookie quarterback. They're trying to blend in Gavin Wimsatt, who's a typical. He's the dual threat guy who's not particularly accurate with his throws, but is very slippery and gets out of trouble. All I'm saying is that Penn State had better strap it on defensively.
All right.
And be ready because Rutgers really ran the ball well against Michigan State. Now, is Michigan State a really tough run defense? Not particularly, but they're a representative team. They just beat Illinois. They just went into Illinois and won, and really ran Illinois, derailed their whole thing. They were 7-1 when Michigan State won.
Illinois was kind of their own worst enemy in that game, I think, a little bit. Isn't that true with like the fourth down stuff and like turning the ball over on downs?
Yeah, but man, the game was 23-7 in the fourth quarter.
I know.
Michigan State went in there and kicked their ass, and that's not a bad team for Rutgers to go in and have it. It was 21-14 with 12 minutes to go, and Rutgers is driving down to the 20. Wimsatt is not terribly accurate. He missed a couple of throws then on that drive, and then they had a field goal blocked. Michigan State went down and scored, and then it was 27-14. And then Penn State fans might not know about this. Wimsatt hit like a 4th and 29 throw into the end zone to make it 27-21. So they've got an onside kick. It fails. There's 40 seconds left. And Greg Schiano tries this thing that he did, and you remember, like I was saying,
when it was at Tampa Bay against the Giants.
You know 10 times more about the NFL than I do. Have you ever seen this kind of Mickey Mouse stuff that Schiano does? And I kind of, in general, have liked Greg Schiano and admired what he's done with that program, not once, but I think starting again, it's in much better shape than it was with Chris Ash. But I do not get this submarining on victory formation. All it's going to do is get some offensive lineman hurt. It has zero chance of ever succeeding, and it's just high school crap.
Yeah. Well, Dave, you can also get a quarterback hurt doing that. And the reason I was going to bring up these shenanigans is, if it is a typical Penn State Rutgers game, and Drew Aller is in the game in victory formation, and he pulls this stuff. I mean, what are we talking about? And how do you think it'll be perceived? I guarantee you, James Franklin is definitely prepared for this, and he probably will not have Aller in the game if that's the point. He'll have somebody else in, but I guarantee you he's ready for it. I just think it's one thing to be feisty and scrappy and, challenging Ryan Day to a fight after a fake punt. It's one thing to do that. I kind of like that about Greg, but there's nothing good can come of that at the end of game stuff. The game is over. You cannot win. No. All you can really do, all you can really
hurt.
Yeah, all you can do is really get somebody hurt, and I just think that he needs to be better. He does.
Yeah, go back to Don. Go coach at Don Bosco Prep or something if you're doing that stuff. It's the kind of stuff you would have expected out of George Curry when he's losing a game, a playoff game, that kind of.
Right.
It doesn't belong in college football, and he did it in the NFL, didn't he? At the end of his Buccaneers term. When was that? And who do you remember?
He was the Buccaneers coach. It was at Giants Stadium. I don't know when he took the job, but it's been, I would say, close to a decade since it happened. But it does stick out, and somebody could make the argument, Dave. I don't know if you saw the end of regulation in the Bills-Vikings game where the Bills were backed up to their 1 yard line trying to protect I think a lead of a very few points. They had the game won. Josh Allen fumbled the snap. Minnesota recovered the ball in the end zone for a touchdown. That's kind of a different scenario because the game was still there was still a chance they could mess that up. This was not. They were not backed up. There was no way Rutgers could win the game.
And that's a mistake by the offense, like the miracle in the Meadowlands.
They did not cause that.
That's like the miracle in the Meadowlands or something like that.
1978.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
This, I guess we've said enough about it, but I just don't get it. And it doesn't help his image because it looks low rent. I mean, that's what everyone thinks of when they think of Rutgers around the league is low rent. And you don't want to do that. You want to, if you're going to be a class program in this league and represent, don't do that kind of crap because it doesn't help you. It's great to fight, and they are still fighting. Rutgers is still fighting, and I think that's what Schiano has instilled in them. But that's the wrong time to do it, man. The game's over. Game's over.
Dave, I know you obviously you do your Big Ten power poll and you follow all the teams. The power poll comes out Tuesday. I know a lot of people look forward to it. The odds of Rutgers getting a couple difference makers at key positions on offense, where are you on that? Do you think it's feasible? I mean, there are some good players. It's a fertile recruiting ground, but there's a lot of other programs that are in there too. Do you think he can do it? Do you think I'm not talking about maybe a Ray Rice. I'm talking about, some quarterbacks and wideouts and maybe a couple offensive linemen.
Guys on the edge. Well, right. Wimsatt is a dual threat guy, and he's trying to make him into a legit quarterback, and he's making progress. He didn't make too many bad throws. He didn't get punished for the ones he made in this game against Michigan State. Not great conditions, but he fired his OC Sean Gleason in the middle of the season, and that doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's got a former, longtime, very popular high school coach in New Jersey running the offense, Nunzio Campanella, and yeah. You remember him? He was the interim head coach when Chris Ash got fired. Now he's the interim coordinator. He's a career interim.
That's not a New Jersey high school coaching name. I don't know what it is.
It sounds like a character. It sounds like a character in The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Did you call Nunzio? Why did you call Nunzio? I told you to call Nunzio. Anyway. It doesn't have any continuity right now as far as the air game. It doesn't. But they have really improved incrementally over the last couple of years. You remember what a horrible though it was at scrimmage on both sides of the ball a couple of years ago when he took over 3. And now it's better. I mean, they are competitive at the line on both sides of the ball. I mentioned on the post game last week that against Michigan, they made, and no one has done this to Michigan. They were ahead at halftime against Michigan. Mm-hmm. You can say Michigan didn't take the game seriously. Look, it was a competitive game in the first half, and then they just ran out of guys. I mean, you need more guys to sustain that against Michigan. But in the first half, Michigan's 2 touchdowns were they needed 4th down on 1st and goal situations both times to do it when Blake Corum finally scored, and he had to fight to get in the end zone. They are better at scrimmage on defense, and they were quite a bit better at scrimmage on offense. They were opening holes for Kyle Monangai in that Michigan State game that were very impressive, and they were well-blocked plays where the hole was where it was supposed to be. It wasn't like bounced outside. And Kyle Monangai had like a career game, and everyone's like, who the hell is Kyle Monangai? Well, that's what Michigan State was saying. But they were getting blocked. So that's where you're going to build this program from the inside out, in contrast to Maryland, who's got all the shiny objects all over the perimeter, and then in November they can't play. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Rutgers is closer. Everyone thought that Maryland was going to they were the sexy pick to finish third this year, and with a lot of people in the league.
They were your sexy pick last year.
Yeah, I don't remember if I ever picked them third. I think
you exactly picked them third.
I did?
Yeah.
Last year?
Last year.
Okay. Well,
you're not wiggling out of it, Jones. You're not wiggling out of it.
I didn't believe in them this year, and I think I picked them fourth or fifth. I did not believe they were going to replace Penn State because they're not showing any strength at scrimmage. They've got, to your point about Rutgers, I mean, they got all the skill guys, but when November rolls around and you've got to run the ball and run possession passing, they can't do it. Rutgers is making steps in that direction.
Okay.
And they ran the ball very well against Michigan State and were in the game in the fourth quarter. So that's fairly impressive.
Okay. I just want to correct myself. I was talking about you picked Rutgers third last year. I don't know if that's what I meant you did. If you were talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about Maryland.
Okay, then no, I don't want to. I give you enough grief. I don't want to say that.
Yeah, I picked
you
Illinois.
Rutgers third last year.
I picked Illinois and Rutgers third. That's right.
Yeah.
Last year, Illinois, I was ahead of my.
Ahead
of the curve. I saw that coming. But they have. Oh man.
So here's my question about this game in particular. If you'll remember when Penn State went down to Auburn, Manny Diaz knew that the quarterback couldn't beat Penn State's defense. Why wouldn't Manny Diaz just say, you know what? We're not going to let this running back even get started. And if the quarterback can beat us, we're going to get upset. Why wouldn't he just do that?
Why wouldn't he? Exactly.
That's my fear about this game is he's pretty good when he knows he's got to deal with a one-dimensional offense. And even that dimension isn't that great. You know what I mean? Ohio State, you could argue, is a one-dimensional offense, but that dimension is at times spectacular. Auburn's running game is not spectacular, and
their quarterbacks weren't dangerous, and he knew it. And no,
I'm just worried that this is a matchup where Manny's going to say, "Hey, we're just not going to let the running game get going, and if they can make some plays in the passing game,
say what you will about Manny this year. When he's had an advantage to exploit it, he has exploited it. And it's usually the quarterback. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks in this league, especially when other guys get hurt. So he did it with Minnesota when they had to start their backup, who was a kid. They did it with Indiana when they have complete chaos at quarterback. He's terrific, and God knows he did it against Maryland, who really didn't even look like they wanted to be on the field and got a shutout. So that is a point well taken. I think Wimsatt is slippery in a way that they don't really need to rush him and try to blitz him. Just let him make the mistakes because I think he will. You know,
we're not going to pressure you. Take your time. Just throw the ball. Just throw the ball whenever you're ready.
I would stay home. Well, he's slippery, man. I would just stay home, stay gap sensitive, gap attentive, and let him make a bad throw because he will.
You pronounce how do you pronounce that?
Wimsatt.
You pronounce him as well as you pronounce Whitvet. They're almost similar, but you nailed the pronunciations.
I had that wrong all the time, and Jeff Nelson said it was Whitvote, so I didn't even know. Yeah.
Mea culpa accepted. Accepted.
It's kind of like your Brett Bilemma.
Yeah, I do that on purpose, though. How do you think Brett's holding up? Hey, it looks like though Chase Brown's injury might not be as bad as originally feared.
Yeah, but
I know. I got you.
People were afraid it was an Achilles, and it might be an Achilles strain. They're not really saying. Right. I think it's a smokescreen. Did you see when he got hurt? Did you see it?
Yeah, I was next to you. Remember, you were watching it in the press box?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He looked like he was in excruciating pain. That's the kind of injury where if you have to get ready for Michigan, which is where Illinois is playing, it ain't good. So they need him at 100% to have a chance in that
I'm
game.
just glad the kid's knee. I just hope it wasn't a serious injury. That's all I care.
I hope he has an NFL career because it's really terrific that kid
Hell of a back.
What he's done, because he deserves to make some money. I just hope he's not worn out. Like, where did Lorenzo White end up when they
he was a Houston Oiler for a while, but I don't know how long he played. But you're right. Him, you know what? Honestly, Dave, I'm worried about Blake Corum. I know he's got a great offensive line, but that workload, it's really, even though they're in the prime of their lives, you're never quite the same when you carry the ball that many times. Almost, every back kind of takes a little bit of a step backwards. Monty Ball at Wisconsin,
Monty Ball, oh my God, yeah,
he was a guy. He had other issues, but I mean, everyone thought he'd be a good running back in the NFL, and I just think that what they did to him at Wisconsin just kind of, that was it. So hopefully those guys survive their college career.
That's why, and I think you agree with me. To anyone who says, "Oh, these guys all go off to the NFL early and they opt out of the bowl games," I remember when it was exciting to play in the Citrus Bowl. These kids, I don't care if they're getting paid now. Yeah. The real money is when you turn pro, and if they're overused that much, I don't blame anyone for saying, you know what, we're going to the Citrus Bowl or Outback Bowl or whatever. I think I'm out. I would like to play in the NFL and make some serious money. I wouldn't blame anybody for doing that, because this is a business. Yeah.
Penn State fans, if you're just tuning in or you're just started watching the Blue White Breakdown, that's David Jones's Mid-State Man impersonation. It's been crafted and honed for decades, actually.
I don't think most of you guys even know what the score is most of the time. You're in the press box there eating your free food. I'll come in and write the oracle for you if you want to. You don't want to write
Here's my question every time I hear you do it. So in your mind, what does Mid-State Man actually look like as he's saying that? You need like an age gap, and like, is he a big guy? Is he skinny? What is he?
We had a guy 2 houses down from us in Edders when we lived in Edders from 93 to 98 before we moved to Downingtown. And his name was Tony Miller. And he's the nicest guy in the world, but he actually talked like that. He's my prototype. And Tony, if you're out there, Tony and Cookie, where they lived 2 doors down. We had a great neighborhood down there, and we drank beer every week.
You lived on a golf course, and you yelled at golfers who walked into your yard and took their balls.
Oh, I don't know why you live on a golf course if you expect no golf balls to be in your yard. You shouldn't have lived on a
Valley Green golf course. Shout out!
I was coming up to the 4th green.
It was a par 5, a dog leg right.
That's right. A lot of people tried to cut off the dog leg and hit my house, and I would go out like my dad with my like this, pulling up my pants. Who hit the house? I was losing my mind. That was a great neighborhood. We had a good time. But Tony was the archetype of Mid-State Man. He was the guy. He would come up to me after every game and say, "I don't know why you have to write so negative all the time." But he was a drinking buddy. But he really meant it. Why don't you see some positive once in a while? Yeah, write about the local kids from this area.
All right, I'm gonna try and steer this back on track. Dave, give me like 1 or 2 things. How about let's just talk about the Penn State defense. The guy that wears number 11 didn't even enroll early. Abdul Carter, a Philadelphia area kid. Yeah. He is a stud.
Man.
He's a stud.
No, I'm not comparing him to Micah Parsons, but I did in the post game reads for one specific reason.
Okay.
I mean, when you have the binoculars on, you only do it sometimes. You don't do it as much as you used to.
No, yeah. Well, yeah. I try and do it when it's the key junctures and the key plays, but but it's hard to do it all the time, because when you have the binoculars on, you still miss a lot of you're focused on one thing.
You need to see 22 guys all the time. And I'm freelancing and looking for story ideas more than I am when you're the beat guy and you have to see everything all the time. So I get it. as James Franklin would say.
You're screwing around in the press box. Is that what you're
it.
saying? You're screwing around.
No, but when you've got the binocs on and you can really see the collisions and see what's going on, man, he plays hard. He just every snap, he never takes a snap off. And that's kind of an internal motor he's got. He loves to play football. He's not just gifted. And the other thing is, the reason I was comparing him to Parsons, I remembered the situation. You remember when the 51-6 game at Pitt, and it was raining like the entire week. And we were Friday night, we were in our hotel, and it had just started raining. And some guy came up to me and said, "What do you think about Parsons? Do you think he was a freshman?" And remember, he hadn't really started. He would come in later in the game. And I said, he's just out there trying to find out where all the controls are at this point. He has to think. And he's playing football at a much higher speed, and he's still thinking. When he doesn't have to think anymore, look the hell out, because you can see he's got talent that just jumps off the screen. That's what I saw. Abdul Carter is starting to make that jump where he's not thinking anymore. He recognizes and acts, and he gets to the spot right now. I mean, it's impressive, and he arrives angry, and he is turning into a hell of a player. I'm not saying he's going to be another number 11 like LeVar or Parsons, but geez, I mean, he's really the best player on the defense right now.
He is. He's a first-year player, I think, that's played great. I really enjoy watching Chop Robinson, who's a second-year player. When he wants to get pressure, he doesn't always get there, but he can beat the offensive tackle if he doesn't get help pretty quickly. And then Kalen King is a corner in his second year. That those guys are just, to have that kind of talent at all three levels is impressive, and they all will be back. Because it's too early to leave for the NFL. I think they're all, well, maybe not Kalen King, but Carter and Chop, I think, in the front seven are definitely players to watch. All right, Dave, did I talk you out of, I think Penn State's a 19.5-point favorite. You said something about a 15-point margin. I tried my best to talk you out of a Rutgers cover. Did I succeed? What's your score?
I didn't know the spread had risen to 19. It has?
Yeah, it actually was right around 19 all week.
It was?
Yeah.
See, that's what I know. I'm going to call for a backdoor, and I'm also believing that Rutgers' defense is going to hang in there. So I'm calling for a backdoor cover. Penn State 28. Rutgers 11. They go for 2 to make it a 3-score game. Oh, how about 27-11?
I was going to say, if they go for 2 and it stays at 11, that means they were at 5 when they got the touchdown. You want to do that?
27-11. It's 27-3, and Greg Schiano goes for 2 with 47 seconds left to make it a 2-score game. There.
Yeah, and then he submerges Drew Aller, and there's a fight at midfield. Good. Yeah. The Jersey guys will probably win that fight from Don Bosco Prep and all the high schools. I think James Franklin and his staff might be outflanked if it comes to that. I have it 38-6. I just think that Penn State with those running backs, they don't need a lot of room anymore. They both are now running through people. I know that Rutgers is a lot more sound on defense, but I believe in those guys and that offensive line, even though they're missing some pieces.
They're missing a lot of pieces.
Really played well. I think they played well, and I think they'll wear them out.
And credit to Troutwine, because he's taken some abuse earlier this year, and it reminds you
put him on the spot there, my man, early in the year, didn't you? You tried to trap him with that reference to Florida, didn't you? Yeah, you tried to trap him. Yeah, he took the bait, didn't he?
Who's the offensive line coach in 2016? I can't think of his name.
It was Matt Lineberger.
No, 2015. I'm sorry.
And it was Herb Hand, I think. Herb Hand.
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of like the Herb Hand patching stuff together job. Yeah. And Lime Grover too in 2016 actually is a better example.
Yeah, they were beat up on the offensive line as well.
And he just patched that thing together for a while and they were functional all year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this Penn State offensive line, I mean, if you take Olu out of the conversation, assuming that maybe he wants to go to the NFL, they have Drew Shelton with experience. Landon Tegwall will be back next year. I don't know if Juice Scruggs is going to stay or go. I think he might have 1 year left if he wants it. Salim Worley would have some experience. And then at the right tackle, they're probably going to have to break in somebody new because Bryce Effner's been around a while. I don't know if he's got any eligibility left.
Can Caden Wallace make the leap? Can Caden Wallace finally make the leap?
James insists that Caden Wallace is not healthy. He looks pretty fine on the sidelines when he's in uniform. I'll give James the benefit of the doubt, but Hunter Norzad's back as well. So they have some nice pieces back on the offensive line. So, and with those runners, it's not bad. I think even Mid-State man would be excited about the offensive line in 2023.
Well, I like it a lot better when they use two backs.
And a fullback. What about your fullback?
Put in the fullback and follow him into the hole. It's not difficult. It's not.
How hard is it to find Sam Gash?
I remember Brian Milne.
I know.
Milne and
John Whitman. John Whitman. Yeah. Yep. I gotcha. The Sueys, all of the Sueys, even Joe Suey. So yeah.
Did you hear the story about Joe? Joe in practice one time he called out for Suey. Where's Suey? Suey, get in there! And Suey had already all the Sueys were gone. They'd all graduated.
There was a lot of them to be in.
A lot of Sueys.
Yeah. A lot of Sueys. Larry. Joe,
this was in between Sueys. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, I guess I'll see you in Piscataway. You have a short drive, do you not?
It's so much nicer. Oh my God, it's a dream. It's a dream. Hour and a half, and I'm there.
Just remember it's a 3:30 kick. The food is questionable in the press box. I know you're going to bring your own. Definitely bring your own.
What do you think they're going to serve?
What is a New Jersey staple that they could mess up?
A meatball sandwich, with like bad cafeteria meatballs and bad rolls. There's nothing worse than a bad meatball sandwich with bad rolls.
And improperly sauced.
Yeah, and then like a lot of breadcrumbs, and it's like a filler.
There's going to be some radio guys in there though, just elbows deep in those meatballs, and it's just going to be sauce everywhere.
You're pretty much disparaging everybody, like the Rutgers food service, the radio
guys. Yeah, I'm disparaging radio guys. So what? Yeah. All right, I'll see you. We'll see you guys after the game. And we'll see if it's close or we'll see it's a typical Penn State Rutgers affair.
At SHI Solutions Stadium. Isn't that what it's called? Yeah. See you there.